Let's look at some weapons from Conan the Barbarian. First up, the Fangs of the Serpent. Hi folks, Matt Easton here, Schola Gladiatoria. Now I've got the pleasure and honour of being at Windlass's headquarters at the moment in India, in Dehradun, and as a result I've got some access to some things which I normally wouldn't have because I don't have them in my collection, and I'm not therefore usually able to make videos about them with them in hand. And here I have got the very iconic Fangs of the Serpent, as given by Falsadum to his followers to basically assassinate people with. So first up we're going to look at some characteristics of this particular weapon, and then we're going to analyse, is it a good fantasy weapon? So the first thing to note about this is it's pretty big as a dagger. It's a big chunky thing. It's not that it's especially long, but it's really, really chunky. Very, very solid. Exactly like the ones shown in the movie Conan the Barbarian, of course, with Arnie. Now, it's also more or less a big, solid steel construction, or at least metal construction. I don't know what the original was supposed to be made of. This is steel, but it does have a wooden grip on it. Now, first up, would this make a good fighting dagger? Possibly not, because it is really, really heavy. So it seems like a specialised weapon for a specialised task. And that fits within the historical, or fantasy in this case, context of the fact that this is a specialised assassination dagger given by Falsadum to his followers. It does have a handguard on it, but that's probably not for combat so much as simply to stop the hand riding up. And it's got this really cool tail pommel, which is a bit reminiscent of antennae pommels that we find on certain types of historical sword and dagger. But the most characteristic thing about it is the fact that it has two serpents' tails. So if we look, it's two crossed serpents, the symbol of Falsadum's cult, if we call it that, intertwined, and then with the tails providing the point. Now, first of all, these are pointy. Could you stab with this? Yes, absolutely you could stab with this. It is heavy, however. I would say overall, probably as a combat weapon, it should be made lighter. Even as an assassination weapon, it should be probably made lighter, because this would be quite a heavy object to conceal and carry. Also pretty big as well. If you think about something like a Fairbairn Sykes, which could be concealed, and in fact they did make smaller versions of Fairbairn Sykes daggers, commando daggers, for concealment with SOE and people like that. If this was an assassin's weapon, like a stiletto, I would expect it to be somewhat smaller, somewhat lighter. Nevertheless, this is Conan the Barbarian, and a lot of things in Conan the Barbarian are big and oversized and in your face. We'll be talking about these swords in a future video. But, so within the context of Conan the Barbarian, it fits awesomely, and of course, it is the crossed snakes. There's no sun, or maybe that is a black sun, in the middle there. Absolutely, it fits with the cult, it fits with the image, it fits with this kind of world-building perspective. Now, is this a good fantasy weapon? Well, as I've already explained, I think that purely as a weapon, the fact that you've got 2 points going in theoretically might make that more fatal, but you're going to have more resistance pushing in, and they can really only go up to about that depth. But that's still enough. You've probably got 4 inches of penetration there, which for some people I've heard is enough. So yes, it could be an effective stabbing weapon, perhaps not as effective as it could be if you made it lighter and edged and things like that. But as a fantasy weapon, it's a great fantasy weapon because it ties into the imagery and the style of Conan the Barbarian. So there we go, the Fangs of the Serpent. I'm not going to say an awful lot, or in fact I'm not going to say anything more about it really. A very iconic weapon from a movie which was hugely influential on me when I was a teenager, Conan the Barbarian. What an iconic piece, and what an iconic piece of design as well, and I can't think of anything comparable with this. And from that perspective, it's an amazing fantasy weapon because it makes some degree of sense mechanically, but it makes a huge amount of sense within that particular fantasy world and environment, and it fits with the art. Thanks a lot for watching. I have been Matt Easton, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching. We've got extra videos on Patreon. Please give our Facebook a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Cheers, folks.